Alright, I'm strong. We've kind of gone a bit Taylor Benjamin Button here. We've filmed this almost in reverse order to what you'll be watching it. So this is a brief review, not really a review, but just sort of going over the results from the quarterfinals in Masters Shanghai. I got the previous video, I had predictions, wasn't really the focus, but I had predictions, I got all 4 games right, so good job me, you did really well there, you're the best, love you. So this one, we'll just go over those results briefly, just sort of say any points about it, not really, this isn't really like a deep analysis thing on that part of thing, and then we're going to do the same thing we did for those 4 games, for the next 4 games, because we have the 2 upper bracket semi-final games, and we have the 2 lower bracket round 1 games. We're going to call this round 2 of the tournament in general, right? But we're going to go through all of those, and yeah, let's get into it. Ooh, all of a sudden it's dark and the lighting's bad and blah blah blah. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go through the quarterfinal games. I'm not going to like go into any huge detail because this isn't really what this video is about, right? We're looking forward. We're not looking back here. We're not looking to what happened. We're looking forward. But 100 Thieves, FUT. I predicted 2-0 100 Thieves. That's what we got. Nice, good job. Not too much to say. This was a stomp. The veto ended up going Icebox Bind Ascent. I thought it was going to go, if I remember correctly, I thought Split Bind Ascent. I thought FUT will play Split. I get why they think their Icebox is good. It isn't, but it's by no means bad. I just think it's a little bit underwhelming. I don't think you're going to get an edge against a team who are on paper better than you with it. You can see here that we beat them. This was close, but we beat them. They beat Liquid, they beat BBL, then they beat Calm and FNATIC in playoffs on it. So I get that. They lost to FPX. They can explain it away to themselves as, okay, FPX are just better on... FPX has that comp, right? They're running the... they're running the comp with the Clove and the Harbour. But that's kind of a misread because, look, I think you were more so lucky to get to 8-4 to get to 10-4 in the first place rather than, oh, we should have won that map, we would have won because we only lost because of that bad comp, right? I think the comp that they run really helped you on attack and kind of made you look better than you were, and yeah, 13-2, unlucky. They need to start picking a Ascent at some point. It's kind of hard to force a team to play a map when they're not confident on it for whatever reasons they've got going on there, but damn, they need to play Ascent and they need to play it on their pick rather than leaving it for third at some point. So whatever. And as for FNATIC versus Gen.G, this was Lotus Bind Breeze. I had it going Ascent Breeze Lotus because I thought, okay, FNATIC will prioritise Breeze over Bind. They end up getting Bind more. They end up going for Bind first in the end. I thought Gen.G would go Ascent. I thought they'd be happy to settle on Breeze. Their record on Breeze hasn't been amazing. They are solid on the map, and they run a comp that I prefer to almost. They run the Astral comp basically. I prefer this comp to pretty much every other comp permanently running on this map. Okay, so that's fine. I wouldn't feel good coming out of that veto as Gen.G just because I think the split band's a little bit weird. You can probably think, yeah, Bind and Breeze are both winnable. You think all 3 maps are winnable, but I just think you could have done it in a better way. So, whatever. I said 2-1 Gen.G, I got that right, but they win Lotus as 3rd map, and they lost Lotus as 1st map. The Cope says here, well, maybe it's different if it's 3rd map because of various things, because of potential side choice, because of... But whatever, that was wrong. So what went wrong with my read here? Well, I mean, you can see here, look. This is just running. I'm not going over this detail. So they win pistol, they lose the anti-eco, they get this really nice round win here. Lakia gets a nice clutch. It's really well played. But what happens after this? Well, they basically lose 1 fight on A. Remember the read on FNATIC is this team absolutely is terrified of you hard fighting A. This is perfect against them, right? You don't get Chronicle. This is kind of a bring around the rosies, and Durkee just gets 2 over here. Right, this is unfortunate. The problem is after this happens, they kind of stop attacking A and they start attacking C. And like right now, obviously you will look at this and think, well, attacking C, that's fine, it's empty. No. With FNATIC, the way you beat them is you fight them A. You can maybe try and get something up going around B. You do not try and fight them C because how they're going to start out every round there, as a standard thing, is like this. Alpha's going to be up here. Chronicle's going to be rushing over here as quickly as he humanly can. This setup is really good. Alfred's really good at playing like angles and positions that most other players can't play on this map. It's really hard to attack C directly against them. And so what happens in the end is it just becomes this weird thing where they're still threatening, they're kind of half threatening A, but okay, you can see here actually. This kind of emphasizing it, right? They're not really attacking A here. They're not really fighting A. Munchausen's going for this lurk. This is a bad, but I mean, he gets a one kill here. This is a bad lurk because every team is set up for that lurk right at this point. Everyone expects it. FNATIC usually have the Omen there even. You can't really get value coming here solo anymore. Here's the thing though, I don't think this was so much a strategic / macro failure in terms of approach. I think they just lost their nerve and they just failed in execution. Because they were looking in the right direction, essentially, is what I'm saying. Anyway, that will kind of be my worry ongoing for Gen.G on this map. They've got a very good plan on defense. But on attack, it seems they're a little bit one note and they seem to be a little bit... They struggle to put it together in the same way as they... On defense, they look incredibly cohesive. On attack, it's very clear they have a plan, they just don't always execute it as well as you want them to. Anyway, 9-3 on this half is flattering for FNATIC. Gen.G, as you'd expect, just gave them no chance on defense. But they had enough rounds that they kind of just strung it together and they managed to get those ones at the end. Series as a whole pretty much tells us what we know. FNATIC's still very inflexible, so FNATIC's still playing that style that they love to play. Let's retake the 2-year-old style essentially. Gen.G look absolutely sick. I know people kind of poo-pooed the series. No, they looked good. And we'll discuss that as going forward. But yeah, this was a fun series. This is, I mean, obviously you know the result now because you've seen it, but this is a good series to watch back because it's one of those series where people kind of are pooping on it, but it was genuinely some good Valorant. So yeah. All right, G2 PRX, bang the prediction, bang the score, 2-1, great. What happened? So I'm going to focus more on PRX here, to be fair. All respect to G2, as they're a very good team, very interesting. But this is the interesting part of this for me, right? So, in terms of like the consensus, like implied odds and all that sort of stuff, this was by far the furthest pick-off consensus me going for G2 here. 100 Thieves expected to smash FUT, EDG Heretics considered a coin flip. Don't think it was, but whatever. Gen.G FNATIC was Gen.G favoured. I had it as more even than it was, and ended up being in the match with a 2-1. But the implied odds here for G2 were about 30%. That's what you kind of see in regional play, for example, Vitality versus Gentlemates or Vitality versus Koi. Map transfer 1 tier is kind of seen as a tier above, and it seems unlikely that an upset happens, and then it happens, but you know. So here's what I think. I think there's a bit of a misread by people on PaperX in general. I don't even think this is just, oh, people think that they're better than they are because of the name, because of the history. I don't think it's even just that. So there's a bit of this like, oh, PaperX, we just know the name, blah, 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 sure. That's not the main thing. Misconception here is, oh, it's PaperX. They are the fast, right? You're going to be playing PaperX tomorrow, you're sleeping in your bed, you suddenly hear, shocking! And a neon stand lands right on one side of your bed, it bounces, it lands right on the other side of your bed, you're caught, oh no, that's PaperX. That's the image we have of this team. And this is the problem, that's not really true anymore. I don't know when this changed exactly, maybe when something came in, maybe it was always a bit overstated. But right now, PaperX on most maps are a third wave team, right? You watch those games today, watch when the bomb gets planted by PaperX on attack. Predominantly, it's about 40 to 30 seconds left. Now, on the spectrum of how pro Valorant teams work, that's not the slowest team by any means. That's actually slower than average overall. They will fight you a bit when the gates go up, particularly on defense, or try and push through stuff. But they're not going like, oh, gates are up, we're going to go 1,000 miles per hour, we're going to get onto site, and leave you like, what, as a defending team, like, okay, if I didn't kill them, what do I even do here on the post plant, right? That's not their identity anymore. And if you're looking for that, basically, and you kind of understand that then, and you understand that in general, PaperX, the strategic complexity to how they play the macro, the maps, that sort of stuff, that's always been a bit less compared to other teams, right? It particularly is now because there's a lot of how they get space in a neutral situation. It's just something is going to walk up somewhere and trying to get a kill in, shall I, it works. you kind of understand that, okay, this isn't, what I've been sold on how Paper work isn't really how this team is anymore. Damn. So yeah. Veto was split Lotus Bind. I was way off on this. I thought it was going to be a Scent Lotus Box. G2 went a different route, to be fair. Worked out for them fine. I think it's hard to lose this Veto as G2 in all fairness, because Paper X's Breeze and Ascent bans, they're kind of a millstone on them, I think, at this point, due to Perma Sunset, which is Paper X's first or second best map, I think. But yeah, G2 did really well. IC, insane series, open up space. Trent's rifle showing a bit now. If you've watched him, you should see his util usage is insane. Like, he's not been bad at this tournament, but he has not been shooting. You can see against T1, it's -10. Well, I had 9 first bloods, which is funny. But against Heretics in particular, he really had a bad series, right? Even though they won. So that's good for him. But yeah, overall, nice stuff. But, you know, this is kind of where we expected it to be. So that is what it is. Okay, Heretics EDG, correct prediction, wrong score. Heretics dunked them even more than I kind of thought they were going to. I thought they were favoured in this series. But damn. So Sunset split Breeze. For once, I got this pretty much right, except I had Breeze as I had Breeze before split, essentially. Sunset is not particularly a surprise to me. ETG had a decent record on this domestically, but Loud and Pyrrhic dismantled them on the old comp last time. The level in China still is weak. Like, the lower end of China is still the weakest of the four. I think that you can try and deny that. I don't think it's particularly honest to do so. Whatever. They've got this new comp. The way they play with this new comp and the new comp in general, it seems a bit shallow to me, right? Because what they're trying to do is just trying to find a 1-3-1 with the Viper and the Omen play, which is what everyone does at this point, essentially on Sunset. Any smart team does this on Sunset. They try and play 1-3-1 style. They're putting a util down for it. But because of how they actually play it, the weak side is a paper tiger completely. It's super, super weak. You can push it all you want. Like, you can't push super deep, but you can take the space to stop the comeback on them very easily. And Heretics just put them to bed extremely quickly on their attack. Split, brutal. So when we looked at the split before, my argument was basically these teams are incredibly similar in how they play. This is close to a mirror matchup. But the likelihood is that it's going to be heavily defense-sided as a result, because it's kind of how this goes a lot of the time. One, a team in general will counter its own attack more than it can counter any other attack a lot of the time. The defense for EDG, I think, is particularly strong. Again, I've said it's probably might be the best split defense in the world. I thought Heretics might start attack if they had side choice. They didn't. They opted for defense. Fair play. Better call. And Heretics didn't let it get to the attack. It was a 10-2. Complete domination, won the pistol. One gun around the entire thing on this EDG defense. Good job. Just destroyed them. So I'd say this kind of played out fairly close to expectations, I think, overall. Because, again, the veto was kind of unlucky for EDG in terms of split coming second and them not getting side choice and blah, blah, blah. But I don't really have anything else to say on this. If you want, like, funnily enough, you can actually rewatch the old video here and it will tell you anything you want in terms of the analysis for this match, because it kind of just went entirely to form. Good stuff from Heretics. Okay, so into the previews. It's night again, woo, bad lighting. Let's start with Gen.G versus 100 Thieves. Now, the veto I have for this, just Gen.G, I don't know what the hell they're going to ban, basically, here, but let's assume they ban split again. My general model there is, okay, 100 Thieves pick Bind, Gen.G pick Breeze, and it goes to Ascent third. We've already done 100 Thieves on Ascent, so this works out quite nicely. Could it be deliberate to save me time? Who knows? Anyway. 100 Thieves, to refresh on 100 Thieves, by the way, both defense and attack are super, super vanilla. There's very, very little to say about them, actually. So we're going to mostly be talking about Gen.G here, starting with Gen.G's defense. Like Lotus, one thing that immediately stands out, Munchkin, a really good player. Good setups for Killjoy on A. This seems to be the most standard setup. You'd have like an alarm bot somewhere around here, you'd have a nade here, you'd have a nade sort of in this area to stop them walk out. You'd have a turret on this box to slow them down to try and dash out. Against FPX, this was a priority coming into gun rounds. If you go back to regional play, same for the RX. I think this isn't just like a one match adjustment. This is like how they want to play A, ideally. That seems like a small thing on paper. It's kind of not. Because a lot of teams are really, really inflexible on moving their defaults around, particularly on Ascent. And from an EU perspective, it feels like nobody even bothers trying to execute B anymore. The game has just become who can win on A. So it's pretty cool. It's cool that they're actually playing they're playing in a slightly different way, and I think it's a way that gets an advantage, particularly with how other teams play. So general defaults in Jet though look a lot like most teams. There are subtle differences though, like KO's one here. Oh, sorry, it's not Munchkin on Killjoy, it's Meteor. Munchkin's on KO. Here's the thing with Munchkin. Munchkin's going to play this spot here, I think this spot here. I didn't see him on B, but I presume he might play cubby even here. No one really does this anymore. This used to be what you'd use this for Omen, so you could basically get in there, try and get a kill. They wouldn't be able to get util down in time before you can get out. It's something that a team can target if they're looking for it. You KO knife here, or you use nades here, blah blah blah, to just basically check it. But it's always a bit frustrating to use non-wave util to clear this spot out in particular, because what you miss out of is you miss out a BC util for the execute itself, and you need all the util you can get for the executes onto A at this point. You need to blanket everything. You need to blanket the close spots. You need to blanket here. That's kind of the reason you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. They make it so you can't avoid it. There's obviously a risk to this in terms of, look, if KO got caught, he doesn't have a ability to sort of TP out. He kind of has to use flashes and try and get some movement himself out of there. But yeah, I think this is really good. You'll also see some stuff, for example, Omen will, they put a smoke down here, he'll have Judge. He'll sit there with Judge. You don't see as much on the center in particular, because if you make the wrong call on that, you are kind of screwed, because you're not really getting back anything useful to be. But there's like cool little things to play, I think, which are really, really enjoyable. So if you want to distinguish this, like if you want to distinguish what makes Gen.G's defense Gen.G here, you see small bits of creativity on the setups, it's these good holds. And I would say it's site setups of the fact that take advantage of the fact, look, on this map you have Killjoy, you have Sova. They kind of lay their site hold vertically. So what I mean by this is, like, they have him playing here, maybe he's playing here, maybe he's playing here, right? And they're really good at having it in a way where, okay, unless you are willing to go full tilt, unless you're willing to fully go at them, even if you get this guy here, he's most likely going to get a kill on you. He's most likely going to trade down to 4 for 4. And because of how they're playing the rest of the sites, you can't, if you try and speed up at that point, if you try and, I can't remember what the pro term for, I think it's to scale up. If you try and scale up into sight at that point, then you'll get caught in a crossfire and you'll just lose a round. So there's a certain type of team that's so fast that they can overcome this. We played Carmine on a certain Vitality. They were one of these teams. If you're not overwhelmingly fast, you're probably not taking this down. The bad news here is 100 Thieves, I think, may be pretty well set up to abuse this. It's one of the worst matchups in this tournament for Gen.G on this map. So there is that problem. Look, and like if you watch how FNATIC played Gen.G on Breeze, FNATIC kind of figured this out. So it worked how they want to play. Yeah, so that's a bit of a problem. Now, on the other hand, we're talking Gen.G's attack here. So the Gen.G attack was, they played this obviously against FPX. This was ugly. This went to overtime in with an 8-4 lead on defense in that 2-0 map. Ascent, I still think, is heavily CT sided, so that's not a massive condemnation of Gen.G in fairness. But the feeling I get here is that they're kind of like FUT, in that they're a true 2-wave team on attack. So what they'll do is, KO and Sova util gets thrown up very early, wave util. They hold wings quite well. But they're taking up space on mid, so somebody, whether it be Omen, whether it be KO, someone's like creeping up here, maybe they're trying to take this space, just get one here, maybe the Killjoy. This is quite frequent actually, they'll get Killjoy into this cubby, or they try and take market. And then they're going to try and play out of that for a hit on somewhere, often a B split, sometimes an A split, at 0-40. So basically, end of second wave, coming into third. The thing is that's interesting is that style of play, it can be hard to execute. They struggle against FPX. I think they're still pretty good on it. If you're playing traditional 2-2 anchors, so like I'm playing like these guys are sticking on site, or maybe at most sticking on like back here. These two guys are sticking on site. Jet's moving around trying to find a pick essentially. Maybe just up here, blah blah blah. If you're playing this like 2-2 anchor system, this works really well because this will almost always be a split from here. You can isolate these two players, and unless they can guess and they can stack and they can play a triangle setup of some sort, most likely what you're going to get is a 3v3 post plant that is If you're in a situation where they're dead, you've lost 2, you're holding this site against the rotation, like post on bomb, that's really, really difficult for this team to win. I don't think, I think most times you would expect the attacking team to win that. On A, it's probably still 50-50, but whatever. And they're way more likely to come back towards B, by the way, from what I saw. But yeah, and this is also a thing. Sometimes these teams that play like this can't go quick. I think Gen.G can go quick. If you go watch, for example, the FPX game, at 10-8, they're kind of struggling a bit. They time out and they look for an execute to sort of steal it off. I can't remember what side they execute onto, but it's clean. It's super, super clean. I think it was an A. Super, super clean. They get the win. Cool. Next run, try the same thing again. On A, Viper, they're playing against a Viper. Viper ults here. They go back through mid, etc. They still should have won that run. That should have gone to 12-8 at that point. They kind of get unlucky. They don't have this disease that some teams have on Ascent where they just cannot execute or they feel really uncomfortable at executing. But it's not entirely natural to them at the same time. But that's fine. That means there's a breadth to their attack, which is not true of most teams. And this is kind of the interesting thing. I feel like this might be a case where this ends up being attack-sided for both teams on Ascent. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Okay, so what happens with the matchup? I think Gen.G actually favoured. I'm saying 2-1 Gen.G. And my initial gut was saying stand. So yeah, congratulations to Gen.G. Good job. My initial gut was saying, look, standard team's just gonna play standard, has good firepower, just win this, nice. I kind of got to acknowledge where the dive is. Well, the analysis is saying something else. So I know there might be some difficulty on defense for Gen.G, but I think they're modestly favoured on this attack, on this Ascent thing right now. Because I think the attack could be really good. I think 100 people could have real problems dealing with this. And in my sort of sample veto, I think most likely Gen.G lose bind. Still. I think their bind is good, I just don't think it's good. My instinct doesn't match it too well. I think Gen.G take breeze, because I don't think 100 people has much on that map, to be honest. In terms of complexity, whereas Gen.G do. I think Gen.G take Ascent. And you obviously never know how the veto is going to turn out, how this is... But I think Gen.G have to be... For me, Gen.G has to be favoured right now. Looking at the strategic depth of both teams. It will be interesting to see if 100 Thieves can show another level here, because... The stipulation here is I didn't watch a ton of NA during the season, like I've said before. From what I could tell, it seemed like 100 Thieves breakthrough into from bad at kickoff, obviously last year disappointing. It seemed like they've always seemed to be a team that focus on themselves, and it seems like they kind of refined their own game to another level, which is why the one big loss they had during the season was, of course, to Crew, who have also done that. But they're not a team that's like chasing the counter-strike, chasing that sort of stuff, like everyone else in NA seems to love. That's better for that team's long-term prospects, I think. For example, to contrast, G2 I think are a strategically better team. I like G2 a lot more, but the firepower seems weaker on G2. I don't know what their ceiling is compared to 100 Thieves. It's better for their potential ceiling. It does make me worried about what happens when you get deeper into international tournaments and when you have to counter-strike when this stuff basically matters. And also I think Mike's is great on 100 Thieves. Drew is kind of out for me a little bit on the other guy. Boostio. We'll see what depths there are to him. We'll see how many layers there are to him. So that's why I'm saying 2-1 Gen.G. I'm not massively confident in this, but I think that's where it's going to be. Okay, so FNATIC versus FUT. Boring EU matchup, who cares, blah blah. My sim on this is FUT pick bind, FNATIC pick icebox, Lotus third map. This one I'm super uncertain about. Again, FUT, if they want to have a chance in this series, they should pick Ascent, but I don't think they will. Whatever. We saw the Lotus, obviously we've done Lotus FNATIC before. We saw the Gen.G game. We'll start with FNATIC on defense for this. On defense, they got 9 rounds, cool. This felt more on Gen.G's mistakes than Lotus, than doing anything new, spectacular, or really that good on Lotus here, right? Like, if you're here and you're the attacking team and you're getting you're blasted by a guy here and you're over here, then you haven't done anything to sort of, what are you doing? How do you lose two here? Whatever. Same thing. Same read on them. You fight them on A, that's going to be a problem for them. The C holds are absolutely insane. Killjoy has utility in good places, can hold angles herself, Chronicle can help as well. They're competent around B, you're not going to really get too much luck on the hard B hits. So either you full out fight them on A, or you hard third, or if you go super silent, creep up into set, maybe you can hit still B super late. You can't get fights normal. You can't force fights normally on C and B that are going to help you. So a lot of teams that want to fight C super hard are going to have a lot of trouble. Problem is, this is kind of what FUT want to do. So, just grab FUT stuff. They've got Cypher, obviously. There's a lot to be said for Cypher on attack on this map, I feel like. Because if you're the defending team, if you want to do a push, if you want to do damage, you've got to walk a long way. So Cypher can literally trip here. It's still probably going to be effective, nice. Now, the general concept here of what FUT play is 3-2 concept, right? So they will just... I believe this area completely open or this area completely open. I'll just put a trip down there to protect. And they'll usually have the 3 on C more often than not. Because not having Gecko, that's a problem for going C. But Jet over Raze, beautiful for it. Getting onto site with Jet, great. Your updraft angles here are wonderful. Your landing spots here are wonderful. All good stuff. Breach lets you fight over incredibly well for like C lines on sand. The other team's going to contest it, and then you can get back into site on the second wave if you get slowed down. The stuff comes back as long as you're not wasting flashes. Good. But here's the problem. Well, and I should also spoil they'll do a lot of stuff like 3-2s over here. Like Jet Omen will play towards A because they can both cross here. They can't be stopped by a guy just standing here. Or you'll see, for example, a 3-2 here where it should be quicker. Viper and Cypher lurk up here and they just take contact essentially. All good. Against Leviathan, they stopped the C takes because they invested hard to hold the C with Killjoy Viper. Kind of like Gen.G setup. Problem is FNATIC are doing the same thing. But in that game, as soon as FUT slowed down and started forcing the B split, so they're going up through here or going through here. Even though they were ignoring A as like a pure comeback thing for the most part, it worked quite well. So I feel like FNATIC's defense here, which is the stuff we've already seen, versus FUT's attack, I think this is probably like 8.5, I'd say the over-under is for FNATIC rounds, unfortunately. They got 6 in the regular season game for the reference here. But if you're going to go 5v5 deep into a lot of rounds, maybe it's different. But I think FNATIC are pretty heavily favours on this side, unfortunately, for FUT. Now, defense is a little bit more interesting. So FUT run this Cypher setup. Well, they run various Cypher setups, right? He's not bound to one side. You go all over the place. I highlighted this B setup, which I think is quite cool. He just basically, as soon as door comes up, does this here, cam here, gets a little bit of advanced space, and just walks back and just hangs around B. He's ready for the A hit. He's ready for the C hits. All good. I think he plays. I think Yeshua plays quite nice on this map. Breach generally plays towards window and stairs, kind of what you'd expect. He's got a good stun angle here, he's got good flashes, blah blah blah. Viper's typically B to A. She's got a variation where she's playing A. She does a cross here, which I've just put in there because I think it's interesting to see. It's a little bit different, but generally it will just be the very standard one, which is this. Jet's going to peek out of C a lot. They fight with 2. They won't full fight this, but they will fight this with 2. Open plays this A doors pivot most of the time. Perfectly respectable. I think we'd rather have someone like Fade out there, but this isn't terrible. But you are just basically sitting back and holding. You can't really do much going forward here. By the way, this Viper wall, this is a tell that she's on that Viper's on A side, so any smart team should rush A against this, just saying. Anyway. Now here's the thing, they do actually... There's a reputation, I don't know how well known this is internationally, among Turkish teams in Europe, for doing what's called the Turk rotate. Turk rotate. What is this? This is literally, I hear any noise across the map, I start running really, really quickly. So that if they full on execute, if they go full speed, I'm already there to sort of try and stop the execute or try and get them for an immediate retake. This is generally seen as a pejorative more so. It actually works quite well into what they're doing here. Because if you rotate super quickly, then you're able to do what's called a flood retake, where you are basically retaking as the bomb is going down or just after, so they don't have time to get into full positions for the retake. Against teams that have tried to abuse first wave, try and go really, really quickly, this is good. This is kind of what you want to do. This is why this has kind of become a thing for those teams, because other teams they've played like to play that first wave style. Blah, blah, blah. Now, as I said, I don't think FNATIC's attack is particularly good on this map. They'll fight you early on A, fight. Look like they're breezing in that regard. They do want to take B hard from you. They'll do a lot of attacks into C second wave. I think in general, FUT's defense, just as their default style, works quite well into how they want to play. They're not trying to full fight you on A, sure, but they are holding positions, so they're gonna get a decent retake. Because they were taking so quickly, these guys are literally just legging it over there. They're going to be in good position for the retake. The way that Cypher plays, particularly around B, does a lot to shut down the big threat from them, which is, oh, someone runs through, like, they'll have like 2 people run through B, like, delayed. This is like a big problem. That shuts that down. The main problem is if they try and just fight your second wave on C. That's a problem. But, I mean, you've shut down most of their game plan at that point. If they'd be forced to do this, and then you could literally just have a guy run knife in hand, he runs towards A. If they're not there, he runs knife in hand back towards C. You can just do that. So I actually think the FUT defense might work quite well into FNATIC's attack. I'm going to give that, say it's a 6.52 FUT. That's cool. The main problem is though, I kind of think to some point, I mean, I said that, yeah, you can just retake. You don't want to retake it FNATIC realistically, unless you can get a full-on flood. So if you're in this area and you have multiple people in this area, then they're going to want to fight. I don't know how aggressive your TQ is going to be in that, because it's a little bit weird. Obviously, if his util ever goes down, if he's the first one dead, they're in trouble. Like, they just lose that round. So, mixed messages here a bit. But my point is, I think FUT's defense here can work quite well into FNATIC's attack, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won more rounds than they lost on that side. But I just think against the FNATIC defense, I don't think they're going anywhere. So yeah, that's basically what I think about it. This is going to be, I'd like to say otherwise. I can't see this being anything other than a 2-0 for FNATIC. I kind of hope I'm wrong on this, but I think this is where it's going to go. Alright, so G2 Heretics. I have rematch of groups, obviously. I think it's going to be the same. Well, my assumption is same veto, because I don't see how either team can get in. I don't see how either team gets really an edge in mixing it up. I think it just handshakes the same veto. G2 you can consider Icebox again, but Heretics are pretty good. Have been pretty good on that map. I think there are weaknesses on Heretics' Icebox for the record, but whatever. I'm going to assume split third again. So, and this is an interesting matchup, obviously, because there's a lot of like little nuances to how both these teams play this map. Obviously, the entire thing with G2 is I think they've got the Fade. I think that's like the best meta call. We're kind of ahead of the meta. But Heretics are doing really interesting stuff with how this 1-3-1 concept that basically only them need. Well, actually, more teams are playing the 1-3-1, but they play this really, really well basically. And on defense, they're also. I think on defense they've gotten even better. Okay, whatever. So, the tale of the last game was G2 played on attack first. Should start attack. G2 got up 8-0 on attack. Heretics lose pistol on defense, 10-4 down, I think. Was it not? Was it like 11-3, whatever? Heretics were bringing it back still on their attack. It was a 13-8 in the end to G2. G2's side choice massively helped them now. I don't know if they get it this time. Part of me thinks this could literally come down to who gets attacked first. So I know that obviously against Heretics versus G2G, heavily defense-sided. This matchup probably attack-sided. Because I think the way that both these defenses work kind of helps the enemy attack out here with their 1-3-1 concept. I will say, Boo was playing this way better this time. More confidently on B, he was playing these positions more so, which he had done, I think, in the first game they played. Really good against G2G. It could be, if Fade uses a util in the right way, this could become tricky. If Fade is like, actually, I don't know why Fade is here, because it's not generally her. Here it's generally her. But if Fade plays a lurker on B on attack for the record, that actually becomes really interesting for G2. Okay, I think there's more potential in general with this defense against this attack versus what they showed first match. I still think this is naturally attack sided for both teams. Like I said, I don't know how seeding works. It's usually random for at this stage of the tournament. And so this is okay. So G2's attack. you've got a chance to sort of punch your beat here still. I think it's really hard for you to attack A. They're playing this really smart. You can potentially do it, but you kind of have to save both Fade Dogs, I think, to attack A site because of the way that Gen.G is putting down his wires, like unpredictably. Okay. Now on the other side, Heretics' attack. So they go heavy for this lobby contest. This is one thing, to be fair. This could work out really well or really badly for G2. I think probably badly, because they put a lot of resources into this lobby contest. I don't think they're generally ballsy enough to leave a guy here. If they leave a guy here, this is going to make things really difficult for Wu, because he's not going to be able to get these lurks up. They're kind of relying a lot on him getting these lurks up into sight so that they can then execute from heaven with, okay, if we lose one, we don't care, we've still got the site. But if they do what they have kind of tendency to do, which is they contest lobby, they throw resources onto it to get people away from it, but then they leave it and they give the comeback to him, that's going to be really bad. So I've still got his stuff on A. He's kind of fine with Fade doing this, to be honest. He's fine with Fade doing this, what she's going to do here, which is make it impossible for anyone to lurk on it, because he's barely threatening the lurk anyway. At this point, he's going to have the cage down here, but he's not got the wall. Okay, whatever. So I think... So this could be interesting, because either team could win this, depending on what choices they still made from what they can execute from a macro perspective. I'm going to give the edge to Heretics here at the moment. I'm hoping G2 don't watch this. Okay, anyway. And as for the rest of the Veto, Heretics were not competitive last time on Bind. It's a problem map for them. They'll take them closer, but I don't think they'll win. On Lotus, I don't think G2's Killjoy's comp is going to work. Lotus is going to run it back as well. It'll get to split again, most likely, I think. And so I'm going to give this to Heretics 2-1. But this could, if G2 are smart, they could take this out. But I think this is going to be Heretics. And finally, PRX EDG. So I have this going Sunset Split Bind. As it happens, this is the exact 3 matches that we saw this matchup at Masters Madrid. I didn't actually remember that until I checked it. Possible that Sunset might get flipped to Bind here if EDG are willing to steer towards threatening Icebox as third map. It's a thing where they generally have... It's generally not gone to third for them. They've kind of avoided it. But it's never been a PRX map either, right? So there's a call to be made there that you can justify that quite well. PRX have the stage Killjoy's competence, by the way, on Icebox. It's quite outdated. So there's a possibility that this... I mean, again, I think not a single veto has been entirely right. You can never 100% tell, but we're going to assume Bind here. Because this is a fun one, because this is very, very conventional meta comp and playstyle versus very, very weird one. So PRX are running the harbour, obviously. Starting out EDG's attack, we're going to say, look, EDG play a very, very usual style. They're going to hold stuff deep. They are going to just... They have the lurk wall, which they only use to come back. The one thing I say would how to distinguish them from any other team. With this sort of comp, you can either be short focus, i.e. you're generally going to look to group up and you're going to get a plant off here. Or you can be long focus, which is you're going to send 3 people up here. If you can get onto site, great. If not, you're going to take TP back, you're going to retake baths, you're going to try and plant here. Right, that's kind of the 2 ways you play this hard defaulty hard style with these sort of very regular comps. EDG also are generally long focused. They're going to try and take this space up a lot. Yeah. I mean, because Sky brings good threat for them for the Baths comeback. Gecko is also good for this. Gecko didn't really use Utons, to be fair. But you can clear Baths if a team tries to contest Baths against you. So this is fine. Not much to say here. Relatively standard. Now, PRX are running the double control and they're running Harbour. And this is the funny thing. They're not locked into this, but this is how they would ideally want to play, which is that they have Harbour playing here with Brim. They play double controller on this site. Why are they doing this? Well, the key thing here is they want to contest Baths, ideally. They see this as I think they see this as the strongest way to contest Baths, because look, if you have this many smokes, you have you have pushing walls, you have the regular wall on Harbour, you have the smokes on Brim. You could always threaten like a full-on push here and just run at you. And yeah, this is kind of like a big thing what they want to do. They want to have a threat of at least. Other than that, the Harbour, he generally wants to prefer to play here because he has the wall out of here, which is nice. The pushing walls are really, really good for A short, so he can just play back here. He can try to slow them down. This is kind of how they want to play it, essentially. Obviously, double controller comps are weaker on defense in general. This is kind of a hard and fast rule almost at this point. Yeah, the other thing I would say in terms of the other sides of the map, Gecko's going to play quite aggressive up here on hooker. They kind of realise the sky pivot isn't really what it used to be in terms of the effectiveness, because you can't just flash for free out here anymore. You can't flash for free up here anymore. But yeah. And this is kind of how they started against G2. It's kind of how they started against against DRX as well. This is kind of ideally how they want to play this. Yeah, that's their defense. How this matches up, I think, it favours EDG. Why is that? Well, PRX have very rarely been able to hold on defense on this map against any team consistently. It's kind of hard to push on teams here, which is a problem for them. The one time they've really held a team down on defense was the first instance of them running this exact 5-man comp against Gen.G in the regular season. They got 10 rounds on defense. Second time around, Gen.G destroyed them, because they realised that as long as you have enough tools, and you have Gecko Sky, that's enough tools. I would preferably want to have like Gecko KO. As long as you have the flashes, as long as that sort of stuff, you don't really care about the bar stuff. You don't really care about what they're going to do on site to try and stop you. You just disrespect them, and you don't try and you don't get too hung up on how they're going to play backside, blah blah blah. You just win over them, basically. So I think this favours EDG. Now, other side, we have EDG's defense, very standard. Sky pivot, Viper backside B, Brimstone backside A, separate the controllers. Gecko and Raze do quite a lot of bars contest, which is a thing that a lot of teams don't really do anymore. But there's not too much to say about this. In terms of how they play against FPX, okay, the one thing I would say, they're often going to try and get numbers for the second wave executes. They know the timing as well. They're going to get guys to try and play close here just to stop people from getting out. This worked well against FPX in general. For example, FPX would lose the really long rounds against them. If FPX could just gear up and go here at 125, then they'd probably win those rounds. Well, they did win those rounds in practice, but yeah. This is a nice, solid playstyle. PRX on attack. So they lose the Viper wall here, they lose the comeback. This is kind of a problem for them. Harbour can play anywhere. He ideally wants to start out in this position so he can threaten the wall himself. Like, he puts wall down, he can I can walk behind this, we can walk behind this, what are you going to do? The thing is, they kind of leave baths really, really open. They don't generally have the deep hold that a lot of teams do on this. They kind of play more towards B, they're trying to just pressure onto B. They're relying on the fact that they've got this util, they've got this Harbour to give them the comeback onto baths if they want it, assuming teams won't contest it too hard. This is how they want to play. So they're going to group up somewhere, they take space first wave, they're going to try and execute 140, they're going to execute 100, they're going to execute on second wave. This is close to classic PRX and we've seen on other maps. The reason for this is because it's bind. You can't really play the map as a defending team the same way as you can on other maps, because you can't really push, you can't really take space. It's too easy to just hold back here and still get value. With no risk yourself, and the upside is you just kill a guy if he tries to walk down here. So that's cool. This helps them a lot for bind. Gecko also gives them the threat that if Gecko Harbour, this was immediately fear, I think, because Gecko just wingmans into Harbour's orb. Thing is, this isn't really a huge part of what they do. I've not really seen them do it even, but there's a threat there as well. If they could find an empty site. The funny thing is, this comp would be way, way better with KO instead of Sky, because KO could just tell them, yeah, this guy's not here, they can't break this, but whatever. Now, this PRX attack, which is their strongest side in this map against EDG's defense, still favours EDG. Why do I think that? Key here, this bath plays for EDG where they take space on this, and the way they play second wave. As we mentioned, FPX played second wave against EDG, kind of got killed. PRX are going to have the problem as well. I think if you're neglecting baths entirely with this sort of weird setup, then EDG are going to punish it. If PRX can speed up and like go to another gear and they're just full on rushing into sites at like 125, maybe this becomes interesting. You can do that with Gecko Harp in theory. If you're smart about it, you just figure out this is where we think we're going to play, and we'll just take the risk that maybe they play a very weird position on this one, whatever. But I'm going to believe that they can make that adjustment when I see it, so I have to give this quite strongly towards EDG, and I'm going to say 2-1 EDG's result. I don't like EDG Sunset, I think they'll lose that. I'm not sure how PRX are going to do outside of Sunset in this pool, because Bind is like their second best map. I think EDG might have them on this. Other maps, yeah. Basically, PRX's win condition here is that they get side choice on split, or EDG pick split, they get side choice on split, and they full run them over again. Then it becomes interesting, because maybe you just have second map and they just win Split and Sunset, right? But I think the most likely case has to be 2-1 to EDG. So, yeah. Cool, and that's the video. So, have fun, like, subscribe, or whatever. And yeah, see you in the next one. I probably won't make a video for the 2 lower bracket games on Sunday, just to be clear. I might just put predictions on Twitter or something like that for those. But we'll see. But yeah, hope you enjoyed.